I have to say that the further and further I get into Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, I'm starting to be puzzled by some of the changes they're making when they do the adaptation. As I mentioned before, I'm technically watching the show, looking at what the author has been tweeting about, and then checking out the manga to see what's different. And I'm starting to get too many of those differences that, honestly, in my mind, are very important differences. As I mentioned with the last episode, there was a certain scene that they didn't show in the last episode, and I didn't want to say anything about it until we got into this episode and I seen if they were going to actually show it or not. So I guess some very soft spoilers here. You can skip forward about a minute. But with the last episode, they specifically show a scene where Yuhi is inside of his dream state, where he's in front of that door. But Samidare, Asahina, or the princess, is not there. And so he walks to the edge as far as he can go, and he sees over the side of it, and he sees the earth. And so at this point, he's questioning if that is the hammer, if he's standing on the hammer, which again brings up a really big, in my opinion, is a very big question mark of why he's there. Now, this could have been changed for a reason. They could have took that scene out because it doesn't make sense to the story later. Maybe they're trying to fix the story, or at least the that part of the story in the adaptation. I didn't see the author say anything about them not having that scene, but it's a big question mark. The other scene they forgot last episode was that after they were walking together and the father was watching them, he says that Hangetsu is a good person and that he can trust him with his daughters. But Yuhi, on the other hand, is a big question mark there. He sees something evil in Yuhi, obviously. That's an obvious statement there. We all see that, buddy. But additionally, in this episode, we had something else significantly changed. And that was the statement that Ludo says at the very end. Ludo, in the anime, at the very end, as he's disappearing, says, Yuhi, now Hangetsu's ... is yours. Now, when I watched the anime and I seen that statement, I was thinking, is he saying that Hangetsu's abilities are now yours? Is he saying Hangetsu's responsibilities are now yours? His dreams are now yours? What is he saying is now yours? So when I look at the manga to see if it said the same thing, the manga says something different. The manga says, beware of the owl. Nothing to do with Hangetsu. He literally just says, Yuhi, beware of the owl. He doesn't say Hangetsu's blah, blah, blah is yours, which is, again, very different here. That's why I'm starting to think that he was saying Hangetsu's responsibility or his goal or his issue is now yours, is that maybe the owl is connected to Hangetsu. Maybe it's his younger brother. Again, the younger brother that we haven't really seen too much of. Either way, it's raising a lot of question marks for me at this point, and I'm really curious where it go. To make sure people know, I'm not reading ahead in the manga. I'm only reading what the episode covers, and I stop. So if there's something later on that explains why that's so different, and again, that could be technically their goal was to change that aspect, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, interesting episode overall. I think this entire episode was pretty much just, let's flag the hell out of Hangetsu. Like, the entire episode as it was playing out, I'm going, Hangetsu's dead. Like, Hangetsu's dead. Like, I seriously, but like everything they were putting, every scene was literally set up to say, yeah, Hangetsu's dying. Hangetsu's totally gonna die. The date thing, how much emphasis they were putting on the fact that Hisame was gonna have a date with him, all that stuff. Him saying that I'm going to train you, I'm gonna make you stronger. All those things were like massive build up to that Hangetsu is going to die. It was pretty bad though. The opening scene was like super jarring. Like they did. That cut was super jarring. Like, I had to watch like 3 times. It cuts from like Yuhi's having breakfast with Samidare and Hisame. Hisame's got a hangover. And then it cuts to Samidare going on her porch, jumping over to Yuhi's house, walking in the door, and Yuhi's sleeping. And it's like, wait, he was over there. In the manga, he basically gets up in the morning, he goes and jogs, he comes to Samidare's place, they eat breakfast, then he goes back home, he takes a nap, and that's when she comes over to his place. So that's why that cut was super bad. But that's when Hisame does call up Yuhi to tell him, hey, look, can you keep Samidare busy? And I was like, yeah, it's totally going to be her birthday, isn't it? Can he keep her busy until evening? And he's like, oh yeah, I got an approved date. So they go on a date together. That was a really cute scene. I did like having this brief moment where the father does finally sort of confirm something good out of Yuhi as he questions him and tries to find out, what is your goals? Are you dating each other? And it does eventually lead to this idea that I used to have dreams. I used to have a goal for my adulthood, but I've lost it. Well, what was that dream? To be a detective. he kind of seen that Yuhi had something, but then he kind of sort of lost it at some point. They have a birthday celebration, then we have Yuhi and Samidare alone on the roof, and this is a point where we've confirmed pretty much my speculation that Samidare was indeed, like, deathly ill, and it wasn't until the Hime went inside of her that she was basically recovered, like, she was able to live on. But she assumes, or at least maybe she talked about this with the princess, that once the job is done, like once they stop the Biscuit hammer, that her power is going to leave her, and then she's going to go back to being sick, and then she won't live on for very long. So her idea is that I'm going to stop this from happening, and then I'm going to use that remaining power that I have before the Hime leaves her body to destroy the world. That way, again, so it doesn't live on without her. And this, again, is another one of those sucky things, because right here, she does confirm with Yuhi once again, we're going to die together, right? He's like, yes, absolutely. But in the manga, beyond that point, it sticks into Yuhi's head where he's really kind of reflecting once again on this idea that he's been charmed by her and that he's going to continue on this path that he's going in. The rest of the episode is really just flagging the hell out of Hangatsu, like I said before. The father leaving once again, giving him the tickets to the movie, him being super happy about that, giving the tickets to Hasame, talking about how he's going to go on a date with her, spending time with Yuhi and really reflecting on, I guess, why he is the way he is. He makes up some really dumb story about why he can't be this hero of justice like he claims to be. And then some stupid story about how he was training with his father. His father gave him some sort of superhero show that he had to watch, and that superhero show, this character, the pet superhero show, this pet superhero show, this guy's flying around. He's asking father, like, well, how do I fly? And the father's like, just keep training. So he goes and gets on the roof and jumps off of it and gets injured. But no, we eventually find out that no, it's because he had a pet named Saw, and which is why he calls Ludo Saw. And this dog was like an older brother of his, and at some point, he's seen somebody in danger, his dog jumped forward to help that person, whereas he kept standing there. And so that's why he felt like he was a failure. Like he would never be a hero because he hesitated, his dog didn't, and he lost his dog because of it. This all kind of translates into talking about, I guess, becoming a hero. And he does mention the idea that he does know Yuhi and Samidare are planning on something. Like, he senses something in them that they're going to do something terrible. And that he is eventually, when that does come, when he does figure out what that is, they don't have to tell him. He's going to figure that out. And when he does, he will be the one that stands up against them. So this kind of played into my theory on the idea that I was expecting at some point Hangetsu was going to train Yuhi, not because he wanted to, help another fellow hero, but that he was know that eventually he was going to be a villain, which sadly didn't turn out to be. I was kind of hoping that was the route it was going to go, but he still ends up offering to train him just so that, again, when that time comes, he can protect Samidare. It almost as if he believes that it's noble that Yuhi wants to protect the princess. And he knows they're going to do something terrible and that one day he's going to have to fight them, but he still likes the idea that Yuhi would want to protect her. But yeah, this all leads up to that final battle where Yuhi, knowing that the thing is coming after him and not the princess, which I think that's a very curious point to make, honestly, but we'll get into that in a minute. He does, tell the princess, go check over this place and I will be with Hangetsu, we'll go to this place, knowing again that this thing's after him. Hangetsu, despite the fact that he's as skilled as he is, Yuhi tripping recalls the memories of not saving this boy, and so he takes the blow from Yuhi and saves Yuhi from the golem. And the princess appears out of nowhere and does some insane super punch and destroys pretty much half the side of this mountain. And then it's reported that Hangetsu is dead. So we have our first dead of the knights themselves. Again, I'll be curious to see what they end up changing or how they end up explaining why Ludo said what he did. Again, my original assumption was that when he said, now Hangetsu's blank is yours, I thought it was going to be his power. The other thought process was that it was going to be his responsibilities. It is curious. I'm curious to find out what is going to be the wish that Hangetsu made. Because it does seem like Ludo performed his wish the moment that he died. So what did Hangetsu wish for? My assumption is that it's not for him to live on, because why did Ludo disappear? And they did report that he's dead. Was it to help his brother? Maybe his brother was deathly ill, and this wish is to save his brother. Hopefully it doesn't take too long for them to explain what that wish was. Hopefully it's not the idea that I just wish that I can be with Saul once again when I died. I mean, technically it could be that, but I don't know how they would explain what the wish ends up being without Ludo or Hangetsu mentioning it, unless the princess knows. In regards to the whole statement about the golems only coming after Yuhi and ignoring the princess, I'm curious if this will ever be explained. It doesn't really say that specifically anybody else has fought the golems. We only know about the ones that Yuhi has fought, and every single one of those have been chasing him. I was kind of curious if they would have a mention of the others fighting golems at this point, or at least acknowledging, oh yeah, that's true, they're always after you. But it does kind of, again, if there's no other golems but the ones that have fought him, it does beg the question of, are these golems here just to kill Yuhi? Again, this goes back to my theory on the idea that I believe that Yuhi is more important than just being this lizard knight. Again, me believing that he is possibly the mage. Again, going back to my statement about the hammer, him being on the hammer in his dreams, and the fact that she's using him. Anyways, I think that's everything that's in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions as usual for episode 5 of Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the changes. If you're somebody that reads the manga, again, don't tell me anything further than what we've actually gotten to. But I'm curious to know what people's thoughts are, if it's not spoilery, why they think they changed that stuff. Additionally, if you've not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.